Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hi and welcome back. It's Annie Kane here from The Advisor, doing Elite Broker again this week with one of the brokers who are smashing it out in the regions. Kristie Gould, the owner-manager at Mortgage Choice in Warners Bay, was recently named the Community Champion Award winner at the MFAA New South Wales Awards 2025 and has also in the past won multiple awards, including on The Advisor, being named in the Elite Broker Ranking Residential, the top 100 brokers for 2024, plus being named the Regional Office of the Year 2024 for the Better Business Awards too. So in this episode of Elite Broker, we've hauled her into the studio here in North Sydney to talk about her journey, how she's been running her brokerage and what it's like being a broker in Warners Bay, Newcastle area. Welcome, Kristie. How are you going?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, talk about your story and share what you've been up to in your Mortgage Choice franchise. Now, for anyone who's not had the pleasure of meeting you before or knowing your story, how long have you been broking for and why did you become a broker in the first place?
I've worked in, banking for a long time. I started at the bank when I was 19 as a teller, and I've been a broker now for 8 years. So bought into an existing franchise about 7 years ago. I'd left the bank, wanted a bit of a change, and just went into sort of temping to start with. Sort of did that for a little bit and then realised that this is what I really wanted to do long term.
Yep.
And here we are 8 years later. 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I took over the franchise from the existing owner. We were partners for 5 years. So it's just me and the team now.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I will delve into that, I think, later, because I think a lot of people at the moment are thinking about either buying books. There's lots of brokers retiring. So people are thinking maybe we'll merge and kind of do that. So I want to talk about how you guys have done it, because I think that's really interesting to talk about that sort of business choice. But let's go back to the beginning. So you said you were in banking first, started off as a teller. Did you ever work in the home loan sort of area when you were banking?
I did, but not at the beginning. So I worked for Newcastle Perm, worked there for about 4 years. So teller, then branch manager. So sort of did that sort of path to start with. Moved to Sydney, lived down here for a few years as well. Worked for St George for a bit there, and then back to Newcastle. When I went back to Newcastle, that's when I got into the home sort of lending side.
Yeah.
My dad has been a lender. He started at the bank when he was 16. So I feel like there was a little bit of a natural sort of progression to get into sort of home lending and that sort of side of it.
The bank being Newcastle Perm?
Yes.
Oh, so you're like a Newcastle Perm family?
Yes.
Or you
a
were?
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still write lots of Newcastle Perm loans now?
Yes, we do quite a bit. I think people in Newcastle really like the brand of Newcastle Permanent. Obviously, their interest rates have been pretty good, and we have quite a good relationship with them. So we do quite a bit with Newcastle Perm, but obviously lots of different options too.
So when you decided to you said, I think you were sort of part-timing as a loan processor, I'm assuming, when you first started in the broking industry. Yeah. What was the decision to kind of go, right, now I'm going to go full-time? How long did it take you to get to that decision and what kind of triggered it?
I feel like it was a decision before I sort of got there, if that makes sense. When I was at the bank, I kind of was getting to the point where you're turning people away all the time. And that for me was really hard to kind of digest, I guess. I really liked helping people, and having to say no to people was not something I thoroughly enjoyed. So I feel like when I sort of transitioned into broking, it was kind of always the plan, I guess. Maybe not necessarily to buy into the franchise to start with. That's probably not what I'd thought about, but definitely the broking sort of side of it is where I was headed.
Yeah. So did you, when you first decided which brokerage to go and join, did you kind of go and talk to loads of people? Did someone approach you? How did you find your first job?
I sort of got into the position. There was a position open, so I was like, okay, let's just try this out. So as far as the research sort of side of it, I probably didn't do as much as I potentially could have or should have. And so sort of fell into Mortgage Choice. But from my perspective and the journey I guess I've had a really good experience at Mortgage Choice. Like I said, I didn't know a lot about all the other sort of aggregators, and like I said, I probably didn't do enough research at the time just because I was new to the business world, I guess, and didn't know a lot about the space, but like I said, my experience that I've had has been a good one.
It's been a good one, yeah. So you joined, was it the Warners Bay brokerage that you joined initially? Yeah. So you joined that franchise, and over the years have kind of been developing and growing. You became then a full-time broker, and now you're the franchise owner.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a big journey. When you think about, I guess, the change from when you first started to now, 8 years is not a huge amount of time, but in broking years, I think it's almost like dog years. It's like you're actually 24 years old. It's like, you kind of learn so much on the tools, and you can really go far. What was it like writing your first loan? Can you remember what your first loan that settled was?
Oh, I can't remember the first one that settled, but I remember for probably 2 years, every time I had to submit an application through Apply Online, I'd feel sick. I'd be like sitting there waiting, just waiting to press the submit button, because you get nervous. You obviously want the best outcome. And it's just that sort of nerve-wracking process. What if I haven't made the right choice? But I feel like after a while, that kind of just becomes a little bit of second nature. And
So you end up becoming more confident as time goes on. Yeah,
most definitely.
When you first started as well, I mean, because you came from banking, you probably didn't have the same amount of mentoring that new to industry people are expected to have, because obviously they're learning everything from scratch.
Yeah.
Did you find that it was helpful kind of doing that processing side of things first, like kind of getting the lay of the land with how you're kind of actually loan writing before jumping in and writing your own loans?
I do think it was really invaluable, to be honest. Like, I could do every part of the business now. And I think that's important, one, to be able to cover if someone's off or something happens or something just needs to urgently get taken care of. But just understanding the process from beginning to end, I definitely think was really helpful for me. If I sort of only knew the front end, I don't think that we would be as successful at the back end, or, being able to write the volume that we can.
Yeah. So talking of volume, the big question that people always ask is, well, what kind of volumes are you writing? Obviously, dollar terms is always hard to kind of talk about, because in different states it means different things. So maybe we'll talk about number of loans. How many loans do you reckon you're writing at the moment? Yeah,
we generally work on number of loans anyway. Obviously, we all know what our average loan size is, but we always sort of work on numbers because each month's going to be different. So we just try and stick around the numbers. At the moment, we're submitting about 40 to 45 applications a month, somewhere around there. Now, that's sort of dropped off, to be honest, from, COVID times. But hopefully, moving forward, and with times changing a little bit, interest rates going down potentially, then we might, hopefully we'll sort of see that volume grow.
And you said we there a few times. So how many people are in the team? And are you the only broker? Do you have other brokers? What does it look like?
So we have a relatively large team. So we've got a team of 9, 2 brokers. Everyone sort of plays their part, I guess, a little bit, really segmented around what everyone's responsibilities are. Sometimes there's a bit of a crossover, just depending on volume and things like that. But everyone sort of in the business has a specific role and a specific part to play to obviously get things to settle as quick as we can and as smooth as we can, hopefully.
Yeah. So you've got the 2 brokers, but there's a team of 9. So who are the other 7 people?
Yeah, sure. So I've got 2 credit analysts. I call them broker support, but people like to call them credit analysts. Yeah. I've got 2 that look after customer care. So that's retention, post-settlement type stuff. 2 that look after the settlements. And then I've got, I'm going to say someone that floats a little bit. She does lots
an all-rounder.
Lots of different jobs that I give to her. Social media type things. But yeah, she does pretty much anything, community things that we organise, she'll help and take care of that. And also she looks after the offshore.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, Kristie. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about how you actually run the brokerage and the team. And we'll get into that just after this message. So looking at your 9 people at Mortgage Choice in Warners Bay, that's kind of I'm saying Warners Bay, but really it's sort of that whole area, kind of Lake Macquarie, Newcastle. What kind of loans are you writing up there? Are you just doing resi? Do you do everything? What's the sort of the offering at your brokerage?
Yeah, at the moment we are doing mostly resi. We do some asset finance as well, but mostly resi. We see a lot of mums and dads type of clients. This year, we are looking to diversify. The other broker that I've got on board, she's a bit more familiar with commercial lending, self-managed super fund, and that's something that we definitely want to diversify into this year as one of our goals, I guess. But primarily, we do resi at the moment.
Yeah. And so when you're kind of looking at someone coming in, do you have like a sort of storefront in like a big walkway, a big like shopping area? Like where is the office?
Yeah, we're just obviously in Warners Bay. We're more in an industrial sort of area. I have my whole team are women, and we had an old office which was a shop front down on the Esplanade. It was really difficult for parking. I don't really have too many like sort of start and finish times necessarily for the team, just to be flexible, and I think that's has been important to me. So this place works much better with parking, kind of coming and going. It's a really nice space there.
And do your clients come to the office?
Yeah, we've seen more and more, I guess, over the last sort of 6 to 12 months of people wanting to come back into the office. We do quite a lot of first home buyers, and I feel like especially for first home buyers, it's really nice for them to come in. One, it just makes, obviously you're meeting them for the first time, having those conversations, but I just think it just makes the interaction a little bit nicer for everyone involved to have them in the office.
Yeah. And I think for first home buyers particularly, where it's the first time doing everything, they want a lot of support and help. It's going to be nice kind of having an environment where they can come and talk to you. In your franchise office, you mentioned about the team being all women.
Yes.
And the other thing we were talking about earlier, nearly all have the same name.
I know. Everyone's like a Christina, a Kristen, a Christine, Kerry, Kristie. I don't know how it turned out like that, but I mean, can get a little
you
bit
obviously
confusing.
attract the same sort of people. You're like, if your name is Christine and you're a woman and in the Newcastle area, then come work for me.
I feel like everyone's sort of similar to, like in a similar sort of age bracket. Maybe it was just the name at the time,
Yeah. Like when I was growing up, there were loads of Sophies.
Yeah.
Millions of Sophies. So you kind of like have the team all together. Do you all work full time?
Some of the team work part-time, so maybe 3 days or 4 days a week. I'm pretty flexible. Obviously, it's nice when everyone's in the office, but sometimes we turn into having more mothers' meetings when everyone's there. But I do allow them to work from home and be pretty flexible. I really want them to be able to like go to their kids' sport events or, after school things. So I think for the team and our team culture, it's really important to have that flexibility and allow people the opportunity to do those things because obviously it can get a bit tricky to navigate that sometimes. So, that's really important for us.
Yeah, I know at the moment it's school holidays as we're recording this, and some of my friends have got kids. I'm just like, how do you even have a job and like figure out who's looking after the child? Like, it's difficult.
Sometimes they come to the office. We have little dogs that come to the office too sometimes.
Yeah.
So 2 of the girls have little cousin dogs and they like to pop in as well. So
when you think about, I guess, the kind of structure of actually getting the loans written, so you said you're kind of doing about 40, 50 a month at the moment, and that's between just the 2 of you as brokers, or is that just you?
The 2 of us as brokers,
So how do you then, I guess, generate enough leads to find enough business for everyone to keep going? Because you said like it's obviously got a bit quieter since the kind of boom time of let's say 2021. So how do you now find new business? Are you sort of doing any marketing? Are you generating new leads in a different way? How do you kind of get the word out there that you're the place to be in Newcastle?
We've been quite lucky. Just with repeat business, to be honest. We have obviously seen, like I mentioned, a bit of a drop in what we sort of were writing and understand the importance now more than ever, I guess, to have that sort of referral base as well on top of repeat business. As you know, we do a bit in the community as well. So hopefully just sort of that also having our name and face and helping people as well does bring people in as well. So.
Well, let's talk about that. So you won the award recently at the MAA Awards. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For your engagement in the community. So what are you doing? What exactly does that look like?
We sponsor a local women's netball team, a soccer club. We also donate from our quarterly, I guess, profits. We donate to Nova for Women, which is a women's refuge essentially, pretty close to our office. That helps people who have gone through domestic violence, looking for a home, all those kind of things. So we've partnered with them as well. Like I said, having a full women team, that's really been an important, I guess, relationship for me especially, and for, I guess, the team. Just, I think, for longevity too in the business. I think it's important to do things that make you feel good. Otherwise, why do we
Why do it?
Yeah.
And you said there that you kind of like give a proportion. Do you tell clients like it's part of your settlement, or is it just something that you do just from like kind of ad hoc for at the end of each quarter?
Just ad hoc at the end of each quarter. It's not something we've really, I guess, told our clients too much about. I guess for us it was more important from our perspective more so than maybe their perspective. But obviously we do also discuss it at points, but or pop it on social media when we're able to give them a donation. But it's more so just about doing the right thing. I think when we have the opportunity to give back, why don't we do it more?
Yeah. And then when you talk about the sponsorship of the sports teams, is that kind of like sponsoring the kit, or are you there like on the sidelines cheering? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, basically we do the kit, but we just ran actually a seminar, our first home buyer seminar for the netball team to try and help the because they're a little bit older, trying to help them get into their first house. And it may not be right now, but it's around that sort of education piece on just getting them into a position of, one, knowing they can do it, and how do we get there?
Yeah. So these are like, what, 17, 18-year-olds?
Yeah, some of them are sort of early 20s as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a school team then?
No, not a school team.
Okay.
Might be a bit early for
I was a bit like, it's really early. No. But, you know, better early than
savings account.
Exactly. Start saving right now. So you talked there about kind of doing some of the sponsorship to help like diversify your kind of lead generation sources, so you're not just relying on word of mouth. And I think this is really interesting. Like, you know, we keep hearing people sort of saying it's going to be a boom year for property because rates are coming down. But a lot of it, I think, conversations that's missing is that so many people bought in 2020 to 2023 that like, are there any buyers left really out there? Because everyone now has already got a property. And so now the other side of the fence is, firstly, prices have gone up so much. And secondly, even though rates are coming down, like, can you even service the loan? Are you finding that as a problem, serviceability still?
Serviceability still is most definitely a problem. For us, we're also finding there's just not much stock on the market. So that is pushing the house prices up to a point that maybe they're not potentially, well, I shouldn't say they're not worth that, but, you know, there's just so much competition for the one houses. You know, you go into an open house and you might see 30 people at every single open house that you see. So, yes, serviceability is a problem because obviously people, just the cost of living, like food, insurances, everything has gone up so much. So serviceability is a problem, but I think stock for us as well in our area is also a problem.
Yeah. So what kind of houses are people looking to buy up in the sort of Newcastle area?
Well, we have quite a lot of land development not too far away from us. So up in the Hunter, also down at like Waddigan Park, Cooranbong type area. So we are seeing some of the first home buyers get into the, sort of the new build space. But realistically, I feel like, well, go back 2 years ago, they were buying under $650 up there. Now you're sort of looking at, you know, $850 is almost an entry point sort of house price.
Yeah.
So if you're a first home buyer, that's still quite an expensive deposit to save to start with, as well as obviously servicing.
Yeah. And do you use much of the sort of the home guarantee schemes or any of the like LMI sort of options out there?
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of first home buyers. So we do quite a lot of the scheme loans. It's good that they got the regional as well as the first sort of home buyer one as well. We obviously guarantors, things like that, we do see quite a lot as well. I feel like for us, we sort of market a little bit to first home buyers. We enjoy those deals, love kind of nurturing them and helping them all along the way. I feel like that's really nice for us. So we do sort of market to first home buyers a little bit as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a bit about, you know, the kind of the buyout of the franchise, because I think this is something that we're seeing increasingly is brokers kind of either partnering together to merge because one of them might be thinking for retiring or like looking at just growing, so acquiring another business. How did you come to the decision that you were going to buy out your business partner and become the franchise manager and owner?
It was always sort of the plan for us. So when I had come on board as a business partner, it was really a 4-year plan. So it was kind of already documented and already a decision that we had collectively made prior to that point. For me, I guess when I was there for the first sort of 4 years, I feel like I was still a lone rider, if that makes sense. I didn't really do much sort of on the business side. So I didn't really know a lot of, you know, how the figures worked and, you know, just the day-to-day running of the business. So that transition for me, I found really quite difficult. Just because I don't think I was probably mentally a little bit prepared enough for it. I just didn't really know what it all kind of looked like. So I feel like if you were starting from fresh, you don't have that volume or that noise behind you. But then when we transitioned and I sort of had taken over full time, I'm like, how do I even find time to do all of this? How do I even learn how to do all of this? So that sort of transition I did struggle with quite a bit.
So how did you learn? Like, what were the sort of things you were struggling with?
I feel like I'm still learning 2.5 years in. Each month I'm like, oh, here we go, something new.
Here's a new bill I forgot about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I had to, I guess, change the way I thought quite a lot. I felt like if I wasn't pressing, when I say the submit button, but not doing the application, that I wasn't really working, if that makes sense, which is obviously not real life. You're still working quite a lot and there's lots of different elements to the business. But I just felt like if I wasn't writing alone, then I wasn't doing my job.
Yeah.
So I think that for me has taken probably like 2.5 years to get to the point of understanding, or maybe 2 years of understanding that that's okay. Also really not using the team or delegating to the team, but I think just changing the processes and changing everyone's sort of roles to be more cohesive with what we needed to do to grow has been really important for us.
So what did you change?
I think it was me. No, we started, we were really quite paper-based before. Over, that sort of 12-month transition, we went electronic. We obviously needed to start thinking smarter about systems and getting rid of the paper, allowing other people to help with, helping with our loan choices, our recommendations, doing the research, all those things. I had to allow someone else the opportunity to do that, which, like I said, was quite hard. Obviously, I could see the benefit and knew that's what needed to happen. Also, systems, processes, all of that we had to scrap and start again, basically. It just wasn't going to work for me to have other people doing those parts of the process if I still was trying to do it all.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I think this is such a common barrier that people face when they do transition from being a broker to a business owner, is being like, oh, how do you find the time to do everything? Because there is so much more to do. You've got to worry, obviously, about salaries, or you're worrying about rent, or you're worrying about, your paperwork and your compliance and, P&I insurance. Whereas, if you're a broker, you're not having to think about all those things. You're just focused on doing the loans. Do you now structure your week to be like, I'm going to do this certain thing on this certain day? Do you kind of manage your calendar like that? Do you do it organically? How do you now find the time to do everything? Is it just that you've pulled back on the loan writing?
Pulled back a little bit on the loan writing, to be honest. I would love to be a little bit more structured, and I have these ideas, I should have a monthly checklist and I should do it. Look, I start doing it, and to be honest, I don't really stick to it completely. I'm not a super organised person, so it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse a little bit. But I think that having checklists and things like that in place to make sure things aren't getting missed is really important. Otherwise, you'll go from month to month and then you'll be like, oh, I didn't actually even, reflect back on those figures, or I didn't look at our profit for the month, or whatever it might be. And that, I guess, can sort of undo us a little bit.
Yeah. And so now when you think about how you kind of change the business and things, I'm always curious as well to be like, well, how do you communicate that with clients, particularly if they've had a different principal broker and known the franchise owner for a long time, and then suddenly they're like, oh, what do you mean they've gone? How did you kind of manage that transition, and what does that look like for you?
I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, when I sort of took over, whether people would just leave, and I guess it took me a little bit to get over that feeling. I feel like we do a really good job. We really look after our customers. We really care. And that's sort of been, I guess, the motto since the beginning. So I feel like that probably made the transition easier. I still also worked in the business for quite a long time before my business partner left. So I think that also helped because people were really familiar with me.
Yeah.
But as far as now, we sort of set the expectation that, you will hear from different team members, introduce the different team members so they know who they are, why they're helping. And it's basically to get the loan settled, like I said, as smooth as we possibly can. So I think just educating and setting that agenda definitely helps.
Yeah. So making sure they're aware before it all kind of happens.
Yeah.
And now, you sort of said as well, a lot of it sounds like to me is just kind of, you just have to do it and experience it and live through it and push past it before you can kind of be comfortable. I mean, we'd love to have some sort of like, magic wand to be like, you can do it now. It's all fine. But obviously it takes a lot of bravery. If you had any kind of advice for anyone thinking about, either buying a book or partnering with someone or buying out someone, like what advice would you give being aware and having done it yourself?
Good question. I think just doing the research first. If you're buying into a book with someone, make sure that you're on the same page, that you've got the same goals. Same as, I guess, transitioning, probably do a little bit more research than I did and just educate yourself and make sure you've got the right people on board in all aspects, whether it be the accountant, the bookkeeper, the team, whoever it is. I think that's important for the transition as well.
Yeah. And then when it comes to actually kind of having the business operational and running smoothly, like do you use anything or tools, tech, people, mentors that have helped you get the business to where it is today?
Yeah, over the last 12 months, I could see that we were a little bit of a stalemate, I guess. And me personally, I felt like I needed more growth. So we've hired a business coach who's been really helpful in, I guess, navigating the process a little bit, kind of sitting down and pulling it back to the beginning and then sort of rebuilding it a little bit just to work out efficiencies. Sometimes when you're just operating day to day, it's really hard to do that yourself and look at it from a different lens. So that's been really helpful for us.
Can I ask who you use?
Ross
Kane? Yeah.
He's been fantastic for me. Because I feel like I can just kind of be me and he's fantastic. But yeah, I think just getting a different perspective, being a bit more accountable as well. Catching up if you've got something to do, it's important that you've done it.
Yeah.
So that has been really good for the business. And I think it's given us the opportunity to sort of see the areas that we were not doing as well in, so then we can look to grow in this next financial year.
Yeah, and it's so great there were so many amazing mentors and coaches out there, and particularly ones
absolutely.
that used to be like Ross, like super successful brokers in their own right. I think he was at one point the largest Aussie loan writer. When he was broking. Now he's doing coaching and mentoring. So great to see that. Yeah. And I totally agree. Like having someone not only holding you accountable, but also being able to provide a fresh set of eyes on, and someone who's seen loads of businesses before as well, and kind of see what helps. And we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, I'd like to talk about what's next for your brokerage. So where do you want to take it? What sort of challenges and opportunities you're seeing in industry at the moment, and your advice for new brokers? And we'll get into it just after this message. So you've now had the franchise as your own for 2.5 years, you said? Yeah. So looking forward, we've just started FY26. So Happy New Year, if that's a thing that we say. What are your plans for this year? And how would you want to grow the business moving forward into kind of like multi-year strategy?
This is going to be our biggest settlement month since I took over. So that's a good start.
That's very exciting.
Good way to start.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, it's taken us a while to get to this point, to a place where everything's sort of working pretty cohesively. Obviously, everything, things need tweaking and changing all the time, but I really feel like we're on the right path for growth for us. Like I said, we've sort of just been writing mainly residential type loans, and it is something that we definitely want to get more into the commercial and like SMSF space. Yeah. Christina's quite skilled in that area, so definitely going to start leveraging off the relationships that we've already built to hopefully sort of diversify, also to help our existing client base, try and get in, whether it be to, get an investment property, build wealth. We've kind of really sat, I think, in our own lane for some time, and it's really time for us, for the business to change, but also for us personally. I think it's great for us to continue learning and growing, so then we do, like I said, have longevity, and just so we're becoming better at our job.
Yeah, having a bit more and trying something new, having something fun to do.
Yeah.
I think the SMSF side of things has been really interesting as well. I think a lot of brokers the last couple of years have been leaning into that, particularly with servicing being quite difficult, and kind of realising, well, actually, it's a lot easier through an SMSF. Obviously, if you've got the right accounting and financial advice partnered with that too. But yeah, seeing that kind of becoming a solution for a lot of people when it comes to servicing, I think that's interesting. When you say commercial, do you mean commercial mortgages? Do you mean cash flow finance? Everything? What does that look like for you?
Probably more so commercial mortgages, but absolutely sort of anything in that space. Just like I said, so we can diversify and and change the kind of landscape, I guess, that we're operating in a little bit, but just really so we can help more people.
Yeah. And when you look at your career as a broker the last 8 years, what have been the biggest, let's say, highlights, and then what have been the biggest challenges? So let's start with the good stuff first. What have been the best things that have happened as you've been a broker?
I think for me, the team that I've got, to a point, I'm so lucky. It's taken a little bit to sort of navigate and get to this point, but I'm really feel like the team that we have, the team culture that we've built, is probably one of the biggest highlights. I don't really know many businesses that I've seen or deal with that do have the team culture that we have, and I feel really lucky that we've worked hard on that. That was something that was really super important to me in the beginning, and I feel like it's so nice to have everyone come to work. Obviously, you don't have to be best friends and all those kind of things, but everyone does just dig in and help out each other, and that's been really important for me.
Yeah, lovely. So your biggest highlight is your team. That's lovely. And what about the hardest thing you've had to do? What's been the biggest challenge?
I think for us, just kind of trying to keep up to date. Obviously, everything's changing so much, AI, all those things, just really trying to keep up to date. There's new tools that come out, like you said, all the time, and just trying to leverage or use the information that's there to really try and create efficiencies. Otherwise, we're just going to fall behind.
Yeah. Do you use any AI or tools and tech at the moment?
Oh, look, we don't use a lot. I would love it if we did, but we're slowly sort of getting there. Even just for writing emails and things like that, it definitely helps with those kind of things rather than sort of reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Resources, as far as, templates and things like that, we can use rather than doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah. And when you think about the kind of way you've come over the years, is there anything that you've done that has been a real win for you, where you were like, I'm so glad we did this because it helped me accelerate or get better?
I think having Ross on board, to be honest, like I said, I feel like I was just I wasn't growing anymore. I wasn't being able to look at it from a different perspective. So that for me has been a game changer. I think it's also built my confidence a little bit. He's always super positive, but I feel just that transition, there was a lot of imposter syndrome. And to be honest, there still is. And I often really doubt myself. But I think just having someone else sort of pushing you to keep going, I think has been a game changer.
Yeah, love that. And then looking at kind of your biggest industry bugbears. So if you were queen of the broking industry for the day and you could change anything to make it better, or there could be something you could do that would make your life easier or the industry better, what would you change? What are the biggest bugbears you have in the broking industry?
Probably for me, it's net of offset. I feel like for us, we haven't had a lot of, as you know, there hasn't been as many people buying houses. So a lot of people have been looking to stay in their existing house. People work from home, just getting cash out to do renos. The net of offset is a bit of a killer in that sort of space. If we're not doing purchases and obviously people are getting cash to do renos, they're using those funds and then not getting paid on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty frustrating.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try and see what we could do there. And then the other thing that we've kind of touched on already, I think, is how many hats brokers have to wear as business owners, particularly if they're, managing a team. You've got a load of other responsibilities as well. It's so important, I think, to remember that you need to be able to have the health and the well-being to run the team, to be at the top of your game, because it's a lot of work. And similarly, if you're a sole trader doing everything on your own, a lot of work. So we often will sort of, want to find out, well, how do people manage that? How do you manage your stress levels? How do you manage your own mental health? And I kind of wouldn't mind asking, if you've got any hobbies, if you do anything to unwind and de-stress and kind of look after yourself that way.
Look, I feel like I could probably do a little bit better at this job. But I just am a bit of an energy feeder. I love spending time with my friends. I love going out for dinners, things like that. And it doesn't, even just having something at home, having friends around, just going away, even camping, things like that with the kids. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah. So kind of getting out of your own head.
Yes.
Yeah. And then do you do anything in terms of hobbies, extracurricular? So the reason why I'm asking that is because you mentioned about sponsoring the sports teams. I was is that something that you do? Are you a netball player?
No, I'm not very athletic. I do Pilates, yoga. But yeah, definitely not very sporty. I did play touch football there for a little while, and I'm pretty sure I was much better on the sideline than actually on the field.
I'm the same. I'm champion cheerleader, but
absolutely.
terrible sports player.
I can make a great sign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can make a mean orange half. Yeah. When you come then looking at kind of if you were to either give yourself advice again or if you were going to be talking to a new broker just starting on their journey, like what advice would you give someone at the beginning of their broking career?
That's a very good question. I think it's important just to work hard, but not lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing. It can get super stressful, as everyone knows. It can get really demanding, and at times it can get you down a little bit, I think. But I think just going back to why you decided to do it, what that particular client need, what's important to them, I think is really important not to lose sight of.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kristie, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us here on Elite Broker. And best of luck with the diversification journey into the future.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
If you've got any questions for me or for Kristie, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au and Kristie Gould at Warners Bay Mortgage Choice. And of course, take a listen back to previous episodes of Elite Broker as well. They're all there on the Advisor Podcast Network. We hope you have a fab week and we'll catch you next time. We'll see you soon.